This video is not intended for children.
Hello everyone, our topic this week was requested by Steve Bruce. We'll be going over the Warjacks from the Warmachine franchise.
Alright, so first things first, a bit of world setup. Warmachine and its sister game, Hordes, are both skirmish-style war games set in a steampunk/fantasy setting. Warmachine and Hordes are designed to be playable together, with the only major differences being that Warmachine uses Warjacks, steampunk magitech robo-golems, and that Hordes uses warbeasts, big magic monsters. But they're set in the same setting, and you can throw Warjacks at warbeasts and vice versa. Players will often smoosh the two names of the games together and simply call it Warmahordes. The games take place primarily within the influence of a region known as the Iron Kingdoms, which are technically a series of human nations, but the term is often used to encompass the neighboring Elven and Dwarven kingdoms as well. What sets the Iron Kingdoms apart from most other fantasy worlds largely concerns the fact that it's a reality where magic and steampunk pseudoscience live harmoniously, with many civilizations making use of both science and magic, and all of them using at least one or the other.
Roughly 1400 years before the current time of the games, ships arrived from across the sea carrying the Orgoth. The Orgoth were a militant society of humans with advanced magical capabilities, and not orcs or goblins as the name might imply. And they proceeded to raffle-stomp the human societies of the primary Warmachine continent into the dirt. The elves and dwarves they largely left alone, but the human settlements were completely conquered thanks to a combination of the Orgoth's military and magical might, as well as a complete lack of cooperation on the part of their enemies, the locals. The Orgoth were brutal overlords. While they largely stayed away from the day-to-day operations of their conquered territories, they enslaved huge swaths of the population, shipping tens of thousands of slaves back home across the sea. For roughly 400 years, the Orgoth maintained control of the region, over the centuries slowly both sending fewer slaves across the sea and also receiving fewer and fewer reinforcements from across the sea. Numerous failed uprisings began and were quenched, before finally, a combination of factors led to the overthrow of the Orgoth people. First, the native populace had gained an understanding and access to arcane magic that was vaguely comparable to what previously had been held only by the Orgoth, leveling the playing field somewhat. Second, the invention of conventional firearms helped arm those who could not wield magic in their fight for liberation. And finally, the rebels created, with the aid of the dwarves, the Colossals, massive, building-sized mechanogolems. Combining these three resources, and yes, adding guns to their Colossals, the rebels pushed the Orgoth off the continent, freeing themselves and establishing the Iron Kingdoms thereafter. Obligatory fuck.
The Colossals were the great-granddaddies of the Warjacks. Colossals, while tremendously powerful, were incredibly resource-heavy, both to construct and utilize. As such, efforts were made to miniaturize and streamline their designs. This would lessen the resource cost for individual units, while also allowing for a broader application of their capabilities. The final fruits of this labor of enhanced efficiency and miniaturization are the Jacks, sometimes known as Steamjacks, of which Warjacks are a subset. Colossals, which still exist and are tremendously powerful but few in number, are not mechs. They don't have pilots that ride around in them, neither do the later designed Warjacks. Instead, they are magically commanded by a group of mages, which was part of the problem adding to a Colossal's effective cost. Not only were literal tons of materials and magical enchantments required, you needed multiple mages to run the things. And without the necessary magical power to direct the Colossals, they either don't function at all, or don't function properly.
Thus, the Jacks were created. Smaller than a Colossal, averaging in the neighborhood of 10 to 12 feet tall versus several stories, the Jacks require far less power to operate, and as such, a single mage, or one well-trained normie with modern Jacks, can command several Jacks simultaneously. A Jack is a combination of technology and magic. Most have quasi-conventional furnaces and engines to power their basic locomotive functions, gears and hydraulics to facilitate movement and power, as well as some form of artillery and/or melee weaponry befitting a mighty robot of their size. While exact designs and applications of Jacks vary by faction, the most important component of almost any Jack is a magitech artifact known as a Cortex. A Cortex is essentially a magically constructed, simple, brain, or central processing unit. They can be imprinted with codes teaching them how to run basic routines, when to do X and when not to, for example. Jacks are broken up into broad categories, most commonly labor jacks and warjacks. The primary difference is what they're designed for example, manual labor or combat. Though like any other piece of technology, a labor jack can be retrofitted to function as a warjack, and though it's less common, considering the Iron Kingdoms are so often at war, the opposite is also true. Most jacks can function and perform basic tasks without a mage overseer, however, they are not incredibly intelligent and as such may require direct supervision to perform more detailed tasks. Additionally, in the case of warjacks, and presumably laborjacks to some degree, the mages directing them may supercharge warjacks and/or directly command them in order to allow the warjacks to perform greater feats that wouldn't be possible without a mage's aid. From generating lightning fields to moving more quickly or hitting harder or firing more accurately. Exactly what a mage can super warjack up to do is partially determined by the design of the warjack itself.
While the basic design of most warjacks are essentially the same, a predominantly metal automaton powered by a magic brain that is usually, but not always, bigger than the average human and possesses some sort of superhuman capability by nature of its design, incredibly strong due to its size, resilient due to armor, being designed for extra speed, etc. Beyond these basic elements, warjacks can vary wildly in design and capability. Just like any other military, the forces of the Iron Kingdoms have both specialist and generalist units. This includes the warjacks, with golems designed for everything from stealth to castle busting. However, each faction has certain similar characteristics that are held by most of their warjacks. The Signar, for example, are known to favor ranged artillery and have a predilection for the use of lightning-augmented weaponry. The people of Khador lack easy access to the materials required to make Cortexes, and as such, Khador warjacks are generally heavier armored, no matter their function and classification. Conversely, the Krix use bonejacks, a variant of warjacks that incorporate the bones of large and/or magical creatures to make up for a lack of more classically viable materials, because Krix are into dead things. Interestingly, as the cortex of every jack is essentially a brain, any warjack that lives long enough, particularly those commonly interfaced with by mages, may begin to display distinctive personalities and traits, enhanced and unique abilities, or both. As such, there are unique warjacks within the Warmachine games that have unusual and often powerful abilities. Fun examples include the Death Jack, a bone jack that is notable for the fact that no known person built it, and that it just has spent around 200 years haunting battlefields and devouring the souls of its victims. As well as the Avatar of Menoth, a warjack that was said to be created when the god Menoth gave the plans to a group of engineers in a vision, and upon activation could be controlled by no one, seemingly operating at the will and whim of Menoth himself, and no one else.
And that's basically the warjacks. Mighty mechano-golems of the Warmachine games. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave us a like and maybe share it with someone you know might like it. If you have ideas for videos you'd like to see us do in the future, do like Steve Bruce and let us know in the comments down below. If you'd like to see more videos from us in the future, be they lore, let's play, or other, go ahead and hit that subscribe button.
In the meantime, this has been True Masters and Morons, signing off. Thanks for watching this video. If you'd like to see more like it, hit that subscribe orb.
To see our last Let's Play, click or tap the link on the right.
For our last lore video, click the link on the left.
Thank you to all of our patrons for making these videos possible.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.